perhaps the most classic strength event in any marble sport. We are back for the 6th event of the Team Quadrilla Marble League in Season 3. It's block pushing. Marbles and the team's gonna push the block as far as possible, but it's not about beating your opponent, it's about beating everyone else in the competition. Of course, we've seen this event both in the qualifiers for this season and in past seasons, so teams have a lot of data to look at in order to do well here. Valley Dashers, getting their first ever goal in the last event, have catapulted to the top of the standings, but it's very close behind them, with the Green Lotus and the Red Lotus giving chase. Majestic Melons of the Bauble squad rounding out the top 5. Valley Dashers, the first place team, and Celestials, the 16th place team, are going to be paired with each other, seeded like we have for the rest of the events. But of course, remember, it's not about who wins between these two, it's about how they do across the board. These two teams haven't done too well in block pushing, but the Celestials are going to get the edge slightly in the near side. So these teams are going to be flipping lanes. After all of the teams go once, Celestials in the near side push it just barely ahead by I think a couple of centimeters, just 1.2 in fact, is the difference between them. 15.7 for the Celestials and 14.5 for the Valley Dashers. Fairly respectable, I'd have to say, for both of them. Now, Green Lotus and the Slime Balls. Lineup changes for both of these teams. Green Lotus going to their Season 2 successful lineup. Slime Balls trying to change things up to do well in this event. Slime Balls! That lineup change is going to work well. Slippery, the vice captain, taking charge of the team for this event, and it is working thus far. Slime Balls are going to beat the Green Lotus, who have had medals in both of the block pushing events in the past 2 seasons. We do expect the Green Lotus to do well in this event, but only a 12.6. That is paltry from them, our second place team in the championship. Slime Balls, meanwhile, go into second place, just barely behind the Celestials. Now, Red Lotus and the Aquamarines, these two teams face each other in the B division block pushing. How will they do here in the A division? No lineup changes between these two, but it's going to be the Aquamarines once again in the near side to get the edge over the Red Lotus. Oh, Red Lotus just cannot seem to keep that block straight. So much about this event is about keeping the block straight and not going past it, because that's energy, kinetic energy, wasted that could have been used into hitting the block further. Aquamarines, though, only 13.9 despite winning the match between these two. They do not place any higher than 4th. Red Lotus, meanwhile, dead last. Now, Majestic Melons and the Deep Divers. Majestic Melons do have lineup change, no reserve in that lineup, but they have shuffled around. Deep Divers keeping the standard formation, and it's going to work for the Deep Divers. That is a good push for sure in the near side. Majestic Melons, oh, once again, they're struggling to not get themselves past the block. Deep Divers, though, they had no struggles whatsoever. Look at this. All of the 4 marbles in the picture. That is good. And as a result, they are rewarded for that with the first place and 16.3. The first team to break 16 centimeters, the Deep Divers. Maybe this is the event where they finally return to form. Now the Bauble squad and Team Atlantic. No lineup changes here again, but Team Atlantic, the hosts, winners of this event last season. They should be expecting good things from here. Surely the fans are. But they're not going to beat the Bauble squad in this first round. Of course, there are 2 rounds so they can make it up, but things are not looking very good for Team Atlantic, who've had a poor run of events, the last 2 events, about 15th and 16th. Now, Bauble squad also 13.8, respectable, they get 6th, but Team Atlantic, that was not a good push at all. They go into dead last. Now, Efficient Eggs and the Shadow Riders. Shadow Riders have the record, are pretty good at block pushing, although have tailed off a bit recently. Efficient Eggs, they will be the Shadow Riders here. 3 of the Shadow Riders going well past the block. Shadow Riders, a team known for their good strength and good teamwork, but we are not seeing that here. Look, there's just 1 marble in the picture for the Shadow Riders. Meanwhile, Efficient Eggs have 3, and you can clearly see that pays the dividends for the Efficient Eggs. 14.5 for them puts them in 5th. Shadow Riders, dead last again. Shadow Riders, last place in block pushing right now. They are going to need a good push. They're going to need to return to their Season 1 form to do well in the second round. Now, Yellow Lotus and the Hazelnuts. Both of these teams, by the way, lineup changes as well. Yellow Lotus going back to their original lineup, Sunflower, because it worked for them in the qualifiers, that is some smart management from them. Hazelnuts, also smart management from them, going for their lineup from the B division, which got them a medal. But the Yellow Lotus will get the edge over the Hazelnuts, barely, but both good distances compared to what we've seen. Those lineup changes, I think, are working. Yellow Lotus clearing 14 centimeters. Now, Poison Ivy and the Icicles, once again, a lineup change for the Poison Ivy. In fact, half of the teams coming to this event chosen not to go with their standard lineup. I think that large sum of data that teams have must be a factor. Now, Poison Ivy, they do go back to one of their original lineups. I think their lineup from Season 2, which got them a silver medal, and that pays dividends here. Poison Ivy, this is a good distance for them. Icicles, oh, I think that is dead last. 11.6. Didn't even break 12 centimeters. And the Icicles, inexperience in block pushing perhaps, puts them in dead last after round 1. It is the Deep Divers, Celestials, and Slime Balls, top 3 in round 1. But remember, it is, in this event, it is about the sum of the two distances. So the Deep Divers haven't quite wrapped up a medal or a goal just yet. Now, Celestials and the Valley Dashers, so the swapped lanes. So if there's any hint of lane bias, it does not matter whatsoever. Now, Celestials, though, they got the edge over the Valley Dashers in the first round. I think they will get the edge over the Valley Dashers once again. You can clearly see the block pushing is not your standard event. The 16th place team in the championship beating the first place team in the championship. Clearly, Team Quadrilla Marble League tests a whole bunch of skills. You have to master all of them to become champion. Not great distances from either. They both didn't improve, I think. But remember, it's about the addition of the two. They still need as good pushes as possible. Now, Slime Balls and the Green Lotus. Slime Balls did beat the Green Lotus last time, but the Green Lotus will get the edge here. Of course, historically, perhaps maybe the best team in block pushing. From past results, we don't know exactly. It might be the Shadow Riders, but Green Lotus will get the edge over the Slime Balls here, but it's not good enough to take the lead. Those second and fourth, that is only for round 2, by the way. So Slime Balls, they are currently last in round 2. Now, Aquamarines and Red Lotus. These two teams, Aquamarines got the edge in round 1. Will they be able to sustain it? Yes, they will. Red Lotus have 3 marbles going past the block, and that is exactly not what you want to do. Ideally, you want to keep all of them behind the block, have at least 3, and that's what the Aquamarines did. Any less than 3 and you're really losing a lot of energy. But Aquamarines, despite having 3 marbles behind the block, 12.3, that is paltry from the Aquamarines. Despite getting the win, that is all they can brag about there. Now the Deep Divers and the Majestic Melons. Deep Divers, eyes on them. They had the best score in round 1. Will they be able to follow it up with another good one? It's not going to be a good run whatsoever for the Deep Divers. You know, the Majestic Melons, that was a great run, at least compared to the other ones in round 2. Majestic Melons, keeping all of them behind the block. Deep Divers have 3, but I don't think the Deep Divers are anywhere close to what they did in round 1. 12.6 for the Deep Divers. That puts them in 5th. Meanwhile, the Majestic Melons go into the lead thus far for round 2. Now, Team Atlantic and the Bobble Squad, as we head to the waning rounds of block pushing. Team Atlantic, they're going to need a mammoth effort if they want to do well here. What can the Bobble Squad do too? Bobble Squad, this is going to be a good push from the near side. Team Atlantic, not so much. Team Atlantic, the winners of this event in Season 2, are almost certainly not going to get even a medal for their home fans here, and that is disappointment. You can hear it in the crowd. 12.1 for Team Atlantic, puts them in 9th. The Bobble Squad going to 2nd place. Now, Shadow Riders and the Efficient Eggs. Shadow Riders, another team that has done well, a past gold medalist, in fact. They also need a mammoth effort to do well here. But what can the Efficient Eggs do? Efficient Eggs with Omelette, the vice captain, leading the way, and the Efficient Eggs gonna beat the Shadow Riders once again. How does it stack up based on the distance? I think they're pretty good runs for both of them. Shadow Riders, despite losing to the Efficient Eggs, that is a very respectable score. And the Efficient Eggs, that is a great score. Efficient Eggs 16.6 that exceeds the Deep Diver's winning score from round 1, and the Efficient Eggs go into the lead. Shadow Riders 14.2, not quite better than the Eggs, but still much better than what they did in round 1. Now in the last two rounds, Hazelnuts and the Yellow Lotus. Of course, it's about the sums of the two distances, so we don't know who's currently in the lead, but it is the Yellow Lotus going to marginally beat the Hazelnuts once again, just like they did in round 1. Yellow Lotus, they got two well past the block, but that strength really came into effect because they still barely gets past their Hazelnuts by only 7.7 of a centimeter. And so Yellow Lotus are marginally ahead. I don't know if it'll be enough for a medal. Now, in the final heat, Poison Ivy and the Icicles. Icicles were 16th. After round 1, they also need a really good run here to even get middle of the pack. Icicles, I think they might beat the Poison Ivy just barely, but I don't know how much it will be enough. We have to see how it stacks up. Poison Ivy, this is not going to be better than round 1. Poison Ivy, I think that's only going to be 12 centimeters for them. Icicles, 13.8. Poison Ivy don't even break 12. So Poison Ivy are not going to beat Icicles in this round. They will get 9th. Efficient Eggs, best in round 2. Majestic Melons in 2nd. Bauble Squad in 3rd. Shadow Riders, good recovery in 4th. Icicles, surprisingly, in 5th. But as a result, when you add them up, Efficient Eggs going to get the win in block pushing, followed by the Celestials and the Bauble Squad. Efficient Eggs, the goal just eluded them in the last event, where they could have potentially got their first gold of their careers. Not so much this time, as they stand on the top step of the podium. Celestials get their first ever A Division medal. Gonna help them a lot, last place in the standings for them. And Bauble Squad, their second medal after their gold in the season opener. But the Efficient Eggs, with that gold medal, they go into a tie on points with the Green Lotus and up 3 spots in the third. Valley Dashers still hold the lead and marginally stretch it over the Green Lotus. Bauble Squad go up to 4th. Red Lotus, with the first poor event of the season, go down to 5th. Then it's the Majestic Melons. Yellow Lotus staying in 7th. Celestials rising 8 spots from the bottom of the standings to 8th in the top half. Then it's the Poison Ivy, Deep Divers, Icicles, Hazelnuts, Slime Balls, Shadow Riders, Aquamarines, and the home team, Team Atlantic. Disappointment for the hosts, but they are still not too far off the rest of the pack as we head to the block pushing for the B Division, and then after that, the relay race for the A Division.